you're the ones most likely to give somebody a job or to hire somebody. And I've seen this in every country that I've been. Ghanaian Americans, Nigerian Americans, Ugandan Americans. The people that have the most, and I'm not trying to change the subject, because once you become a Ugandan American, you are in the class of what? Black Americans. Yeah. The census is going to count you up there in there with us, right? But who is the most, dare I say, I feel like, conceited? It's the people who originated in this country. Because when you are abroad and sending money, when you come back, you're the savior. You're the one that built the house there in the village. You have the farm there in the village. Mm-hmm. And when you come back, they even have a word for it here in Uganda. It's called Basama, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ain't that what they call them?
Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Janita Maya and this is the REPAT podcast. I'll let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
It's your boy Master Gabs here, Ugandan by heritage, American born, and I'm allergic to average. I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
All right, shout out to the Allergic to Average podcast. We'll put a link in the first comment. Go subscribe to Brother Gabs. But I want to just, before we talk about who I am, happy birthday to DJ Maintain.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
happy birthday.
Yeah, you know, we had to beat a gob up to come and replace Maintain today. So I'm O'Shea Duke Jackson, African American, West Coast, you know what I mean? Here living in Kampala.
Yeah. Maintain is somewhere living his best life.
We got to post him on the community tab today.
Yeah, we will.
Before I forget and get drunk. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Well, he's getting older too, so pray for him.
He is old as shit.
But yeah, so there's this clip from African Superstar. Please head over to our channel and subscribe and listen to her music. Do all the nice things.
Right.
Let's watch this clip and react to it.
So don't miss it. In other news, make sure you cop the EP. Bandcamp.com. It's all over everywhere. Make sure you get the EP. Add me to your streams, Spotify, etc., etc. What's up, family? Black Beauty always is the first in the chat room. When you come in the building, you know the protocols. I know it may be early for those of you in America. It's a little after 11 a.m. here. And I want to talk about this topic, which is in Africa, you will see how white Black Americans are. Big shout outs to the family. So I want to talk about this topic because there's something really interesting about perception. You know, when you grow up in America, for instance, or you grow up in the UK, you may identify yourself as an American, but there are different levels to being American. You know, Black Americans understand and recognize that they are not treated like white Americans. They don't get the same, you know, regard as even some foreign groups and things like that. And unfortunately, you know, Black Americans are at the bottom of the totem pole in America. You know, almost every other group is prioritized over us. The irony is when, therefore, those people get into the international community, you kind of morph from a Black American into an American. And I see that playing out here on the continent because some of the institutionalized behavior that Black Americans have grown up and been subjected to, they come to the continent and they then display that. You know, one of the things that I see and I've talked about on a few recent videos is the segregation. You will see that some diasporians, you know, they really have no interest in matriculating in Ghana and, you know, creating networks, making friends here, learning about the culture, trying food, music, language. You know, they are not interested in that. They just kind of want to be here in their bubble. And they also feel superior, you know, and this is not uncommon for people that have been abused or neglected or experienced poverty. A lot of people that come up with those, you know, that are experiencing those dynamics, when they have an opportunity to then reiterate it on someone else, they're eager to do that because they themselves have had that happen to them. And so now they're in a position of power and this and that and the other. You will see, you know, you will see your taste.
Superstar. Guys, what do you think about this clip? Do you agree with her? Do you disagree? Do you have your 2 cents?
I'm gonna let Dr. Cerebral have the first crack. I'm gonna just hit this Captain Morgan.
So the other week we had a conversation.
Yes.
Around how Americans coming to Uganda, or let me say it better, people from the diaspora,
yes,
who come to Africa,
yes,
and do business, yes, separate themselves,
yes,
from the locals,
yes,
for very specific reasons.
Preach, brother.
Right now, what I'm hearing in this clip is more so around just generally social behavior.
Right.
Right. Not necessarily about the business context of it all, but generally how you associate with people socially. Right. Could be where you spend your time, who you decide to befriend, and all of that. I think I recognize there is a lot of truth in what she's talking about.
Okay.
There is a lot of truth in what she's talking about. I think Americans who come to Uganda or Africa in general.
Okay,
right?
okay.
I refer specifically to Uganda because that's where we reside.
Come on now, break it down, brother. Break it down, brother.
Right? And that's what I have witnessed firsthand. A lot of blacks from America, right? African Americans specifically, come here and feel as though they are now automatically intellectually superior.
Okay.
To a lot of the people that they're encountering and dealing with, right? So I think it's a spot on assessment that whereas before I was looked at as a African American,
right,
I was looked at as a subset of culture that had somebody who kind of evaluated us as less than at one point in time, or maybe still do, depending on what region of the country you live in and what your lifestyle has been about over the last handful of years or so. I think when they come here, it automatically liberates them from being judged by, and they therefore then turn into the judges themselves.
Okay, come on, break it down, brother.
Right? And so not everybody's like that. I'm not going to paint everybody with a broad brush.
Definitely.
But I've seen enough of it to know that she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
100%.
That brother's building it. You can keep building because I'm just sipping on this at Captain Morgan, but you're sounding good, brother. I want you to keep building it up now. Be long-winded, brother.
Okay, well, I mean,
long-winded up.
Okay,
brother.
let's keep building, right?
Okay, keep building it up.
So when we think about Americans or even European Africans who come here, right?
British Africans.
Africans,
okay,
right? I categorize them the same way, right?
Okay.
Because I've seen that there's an advancement in terms of there's a speed with which life happens over there, but it doesn't happen here.
Right.
And you think that because people are more laid back, you think that people are more comfortable with slow forward progression, that makes them less intelligent, that makes them less capable. And you identify yourself as somebody who has an advantage over them, when really you might be lying to yourself.
What that brother is building right now. You taking some of my points, man. Stop talking, brother.
You're underestimating the intellect. You're underestimating the capacity for the indigenous African citizen to help you elevate in your life.
Yes.
As opposed to feeling like you're the savior.
As
opposed to feeling like you're the person who's come here with the exposure, the experience, and the intellect and the resources to be able to change their lives. Right? So, again, I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush. I think she's speaking the gospel truth. A lot of Americans from the black community, African Americans, come here and act that way. A lot of British Africans come back to the continent and behave that way.
Yeah.
But I also think that we as Africans kind of allow them the freedom to do so without, okay. Let me refer to something in American culture where you know how if somebody went to LA, right, and they wanted to go to Compton, right, and I was from out of town, I'd have to check in, right. African Americans can come to UG and not have to check in, right. I can come here and establish a life for myself and feel like I can be absolutely independent of any need to integrate and they will help
you.
Right?
They will help you.
Yeah. They'll help you.
Ugandans will help you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ugandans will help you establish a life for yourself that doesn't require you to integrate. You know what I mean?
Yes, a very great point.
Right? So I'm here and I want to set up a business. I want to find a home and I want to establish a social circle around me that does not require me to make a substantial investment in being a part of the local community.
Preach.
A lot of the local residents are happy to say, you know what? Fine. Do what you want to do. Be who you want to be. We don't necessarily need you to embrace us. We don't necessarily need you to be a part of us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like everybody to each their own, right?
Okay, I gotta let you
To
stop
each their
talking
own.
because you're gonna take all of my stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty long-winded myself. And shout out to the editors. They not only doing the camera work, I am what is this, brother? We drinking on. You know I'm a lightweight brother, but let me go ahead and build on something if I can before I get too drunk and just be over here letting you preach the whole time. What I have noticed, first and foremost, is as an American, and this is just to be honest, I don't want anybody to judge me and the brothers that's from Africa, but this when you first come in and you first come to Uganda, you look at how some of the things and systems are run here. And can I use the word antiquated if that's the case? I know your vocabulary
It's a very accurate.
yeah,
word to use.
it seems antiquated. When I first
appropriate.
came here, for example, before meeting, Jonita been with me for like 30 years, but before her, we didn't have the capacity to even have like fiber internet in 2017. I don't think it was available here at the time.
Right.
But now it is. Where the Entebbe Expressway, it just came in. When I first came, you couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, as an American, you think the system is underdeveloped. Therefore, the people must represent what the system has created here.
Yeah.
So it gives you some level of bias. But here's one thing that I've learned by being here. Because a person doesn't, a lot of times Americans, we judge people on their use or strength of the English language. We depict that, or we can equate that as somebody who is intelligent, but how they use the English words, because that's how we. Your use of the English language in your vast vocabulary will determine intelligence to us.
Yes.
Well, this person articulates themselves very well, therefore they're smart. Like Dr. Umar Johnson has an elaborate vocabulary. Thomas Sowell, oh my God, like he makes you look stupid, right? But when I the mistake I made when I talked to somebody in Uganda, I will even call a person named Ocean, Tony Ocean. He works with us. English is not the perfect, but if you listen to what he's talking about, man, the guy is out of this world in his thinking.
Yeah.
So I had to first learn, you can't listen to how the person sounds, but what are they talking about?
Right.
What are their ideas? And that explains where their intelligence is in contradiction to how they sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we're looking for diction and pronunciation and enunciation. You can do all of that and you can't build anything for yourself. That don't mean nothing here in Africa. You can enunciate all you want. But can you make your ideas come to life? And Tony Oceans was one of the first people that let me know, like, hey, this guy may not he's speaking in the local dialect, but man, the guy is smart.
Absolutely
This guy is a genius.
Yeah.
But Americans can't make that connection. Yes? And I agree with everything you said, but I'm going to tell you who I really feel are the people. Not to, relieve or absolve my people. Because I do believe you have certain African Americans that there's two classes. Those people who are going to defend the local people. Because you have African Americans in the Pan-African community. You cannot come to Uganda and not really feel motivated by Pan-Africanism. So those people are going to defend the local people under, like, anytime Africans in the world, they're going to defend it. They're going to be, so you have those people. But the people that I feel primarily have that classism are Americans of that particular country. Let me explain what I mean. Ugandan Americans.
Right.
Because Ugandan Americans, when they come back from, dare I say, Boston or London, for us, we don't know as Americans when we come here. We don't know how the system runs. I've been here for 6 years and still don't know how it runs. But when you're a Ugandan, you know how it runs. And you may be able to speak a plethora of the local languages. You're the ones most likely to give somebody a job or to hire somebody. And I've seen this in every country that I've been. Ghanaian Americans, Nigerian Americans, Ugandan Americans. The people that have the most, and I'm not trying to change the subject, because once you become a Ugandan American, you are in the class of what? Black Americans.
Yeah.
The census is going to count you up there in there with us, right? But who is the most, dare I say, I feel like, conceited? It's the people who originated in this country. Because when you are abroad and sending money, when you come back, you're the savior. You're the one that built the house there in the village. You have the farm there in the village. And when you come back, they even have a word for it here in Uganda. It's called basama, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ain't that what they call them?
Yeah.
Yes. When I come here, I don't know if I'm called basama per se. But I know that you would be if you came back in December.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who getting the most props?
I have been called that.
Yes. So when I come here, I don't know the community like you know the community. I can't impact it like you can because you know it. You see? So when I really see the classism level, I see it from countries, and I've been, you know, if I go to Rwanda, you know, they may be in Paris or France or Luxembourg or whatever, French-speaking places. I see it from those countries who became American by citizenship. And on their return to their country of origin, they're the ones that can impact their conceit. And they're the ones that can give you the dead-end jobs, too. You see, and we don't talk about that. Because the people that can impact with that attitude enough is because, like, you were poor in Uganda. I was like, I hope I get a green card. I hope I get over there, right? Then you were from the community before you got there. You became an American. Your whole tribe is rooting for you. When you come back, you're what? You're called a big man now, right? Yeah. So I've seen that not only with our group to a certain extent, but I see it more with the diaspora of origin. Because they're the ones starting the farms. It's not us. It's very few African Americans that can come in and start a business because we don't know the layout. They don't know the lay of the land. We don't. How to get land in Uganda? I mean, you probably can go broke doing it if you don't know somebody. But the people who are from there, usually most Americans, Africans that come to Uganda, there was somebody before they left. I don't know hardly anybody who came to Uganda to America that was poor here. Very rarely does it happen. You were somebody before you came. And so when you go back, and if you have the green card, you still know the system. So a lot of the conceit, I don't really think, it does come from African Americans. I do know that to a certain degree. But it comes more from the people of the country of origin. And they're the people who come back and learn things. I'm going to be critical of the African diaspora. In America, you do things the right way, transparent. You come back, and I see so many brothers in Africa, and I'm sad to say this, oppressing the people here of local origin. Because now you feel like you're better because you lived in America now. You went to London School of Economics.
Yeah. So
you're entitled to abuse your own people. And that's something that's really holding the African diaspora back. Because you became a Black American in paper, in theory. Not that you're, you know, this class of FBA, ADOS, or African American like me. But I see it all the time here. And it's sad. But yes, we do have that in African Americans for sure. I've seen it here. I see it more with repats.
As Agawa is building it
Take
up.
another drink, brother.
Let me just say something before
it's a lot to take in, brother. I know.
Between the two of you. Just to go back to what the lady was saying about some, did she say foreigners, African Americans, or should she just say the diaspora in general?
Black Americans.
Oh,
Black Americans is synonymous with African Americans, but it can also mean people like him.
Oh, yeah. Let me just say Black people, you know?
Sure.
Generalize everyone and just say Black people. The part what she's saying about Black people coming back and feeling superior is actually true. to a certain extent, to a certain percentage. As a Ugandan myself who has interacted with some foreigners, I've had the unfortunate pleasure of dealing with some foreigners who treat you, who look down on you. And it's not because you're slow sometimes, it's just because they just feel, like she mentioned, I think when they're the other side, they're not, they're the minority, right? And then they get here, and then we have Ugandans who submit so willingly to foreigners. I don't understand it.
That's a great point.
There's a part of it, them being hospitable, and then the other part is just them they're just so used to sweeping everything under the rug, you know? They're just so used to, oh yeah, it's okay, push over, you know? It's just like, oh yeah, you need this, I'll get this for you, or you need that, you know? It's just submitting so easily to other people,
Yes,
you know?
that is true.
There's that. So when they get here, of course, if someone submits so easily to you, of course you're going to feel superior, you know?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I also feel like, man, I'm trying to get canceled for to God.
Edit it out.
Let's hopefully this is good enough. But I have noticed it with some of the brothers in general.
Yeah.
Like maybe you are not, and this happens, I think it's just broad, but you were not who you were in America with some of the ladies.
Ooh.
So I think even some of the guys in the African American community come here, and I think like they're just getting a lot more love. But I have noticed that also with some of the brothers from the diaspora that's from countries or even neighboring countries, they come to Uganda and then they feel like a little bit more entitled with dealing with the women of the community here.
Yeah.
And maybe not treating them with the same respect that you would do with somebody I'm not trying to, you know, I'm just saying, not say that it don't happen all the time.
Yeah.
But here, like what I see with some of the brothers is that, you know, possibly like, okay, I might be able to get away with a little bit, some things more here.
Yeah.
That I can't get away with back at home. That's a little bit of a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that I've had, you know, even in December when the brothers come back, they've been living in like the States or London. When they deal with somebody here that's from the local community here, they don't have, in general, I feel, they expect that the lady is supposed to be more excited to deal with them.
Yeah.
And not actually having to look at her as an individual or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
It's definitely there.
Yeah, it's there.
Even when you
That element is there.
When the Basama, no offense. You know Tamusama, now you got that. When the Basama,
And they be getting broke too, by the way. I know y'all story.
they come here and spend all the money.
Y'all be getting broke.
I think because of the fact that when they're in the UK and wherever it is they're working 24/7, so they save up and then come here and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna splurge, I'm gonna spoil myself. And
then January coming is
yeah. But just to continue with what I was saying, on the flip side though, black people do not have to feel superior because some things can be slow here. You know, some things can be slow. You go to a bank and just like, why do you have one teller in a whole bank? Like, you know, some things can be slow. So it does get frustrating. And then black people can come off as superior. But in actual sense, maybe they just need a certain service or the system to be faster. Like, you know, the way they've been used to in the States and whatnot. And then also to flip the coin again to Ugandans, when city people are going to the village, they also feel superior in the village. You know?
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. As a normal Ugandan in the city will go to the village and then start bawling. And then start bawling like, you know, they've made it in life. You know, you go back to the village, you get the latest.
Yeah.
You borrowed a car from your friend and now you're going to the village and you're splashing water on people and making the roads dusty.
Can I get an ooh sound effect?
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess when you are from a place where you aren't treated, you know, as a majority and you're treated as a minority, when you go to a certain place where you're now seen as a majority, I don't know. I guess the tables tend to turn.
Excellent point.
Okay, I have a confession to make.
Please.
Once upon a time in
Hold on. Confessional music.
Once upon a time in my life, I was definitely that narrow-minded Ugandan American.
Like yesterday?
Oh, man. Once upon a time in my life, I was definitely that narrow-minded Ugandan American who came here thinking that it was automatically better the way that I thought about things. Let me rephrase that. I was one of those guys who thought that I was automatically more smart and better positioned to be able to figure stuff out. than the individuals who I encountered on a daily basis here, right? But this was like when I was young and uninformed about the ways of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I came here and was fresh out of undergrad, and I was working to set up a business with my folks. And you can imagine, I went from being a very average, everyday college student who was doing everything I could to just get by to now all of a sudden I have the privilege and the position of being somebody's quote unquote boss, right? Because my folks were investing in setting up this business, and they had put me in a position to oversee things as they were coming together. I didn't earn any of it, right? I didn't earn the prestige or the authority or the position of being called someone's boss just by default of who I was and where I was at the particular time that I was that. And I think, to your point, Jonita, there's an enthusiasm that our people have, our Ugandans have here, to just defer to somebody as an authority figure, or give deference to somebody because they come from another place, and you automatically assume that they have a viewpoint of the world that is different and or better to what you're used to, right? So I was being spoken to like I was a boss. I was being given authority, and I was being given respect by people who didn't know me, but just by default, they were calling me that.
Right.
And I got big-headed about it, right? And I made a ton of stupid, real dumb decisions at that particular time. And I had to learn. I got burnt badly. Uganda taught me some very, very, very harsh life lessons because I came here and I arrogantly assumed that I knew better. But I learned that I did know shit. You know what I mean? So now, that was 2004. Now, flash forward 7 years when I made my official permanent repatriation to Uganda from the US. That was a time now where I came with humility to understand that I didn't know anything, and I needed to tap myself into a mode of being able to learn. So, I mean, trust me when I tell you, people can facilitate your arrogance in a very, very real way. People can facilitate your false impression of self to think that you're bigger or better or smarter or wiser than you really are, just by virtue of the fact that you're of a different nationality or that you're of a different origin. Yes. But, you know, good enough, man. I was able to learn lessons in a context of a way that, you know, like I said, I got my fingers burnt, but it wasn't something that was disastrous. Or anything like that. But
can I be honest, brother?
Yeah.
First of all, I have something I want to say about you. But first, I lost this business before, man. Jonita is crazy to still stick with me. Yeah. Because man, I was just the you know what I mean? Like it was only me and her left. Yeah. And I think like me being from undergraduate and finishing medical school, I didn't think like I knew everything. Yeah. Because even Tim Swain said the same exact thing you just said. In fact, maybe I might play it. But he said the same thing. You know nothing. Right. So again, I'm dealing with a different standard. And I was thinking that I had to do everything because they just didn't understand what was going on. And for a long time, maybe I felt like they didn't. But man, did Jonita, even this podcast we're here, I always give praises due to Jonita. Me and Jonita have been through stop looking like that. Me and Jonita have been through a lot. I mean, like civil wars a lot. Yeah. And Jonita is the one that saved the podcast. Yeah. That we're here today. Because we as Black people, we don't really have the innate ability to trust that another Black person in a Black utopia can perform. Yeah. Now, I at least was enough to understand enough that the people that was dealing with me had something. As far as in regards to this industry, I never believed that, because I watched NTV and MBS. Clearly, this guy's Saruma. This guy's name? Dr. Saruma. That's his name. The economist. Yes. That guy is a brilliant guy. Right? This guy is amazing. Yeah. So clearly I knew the capacity was already here. Yeah. And there are people more smarter than me here. I knew that because I came here and I saw people have more money than me. So obviously I knew that somebody was smarter than me here for sure. That wasn't the case. But the case for us on the more of an intricate level, do they understand this industry more? And then what I started to notice was, as more as Jonita or Rachel got more involved in the industry, they first struggled with understanding how it works. But then I saw like they're taking things to another level. That Simran, for example, Pan African Dating Show, here for just 6-7 months, took it to levels I've never seen, which indicated to me that just because they were here did not indicate that they could not swing the bat.
Right.
Let me leave the fact that they're not speaking English in the same way that I'm speaking it. But their mentality, how to organize or how to administrate, because they had kingdoms here before we got here. Mm-hmm. So you had to have some level of thinking to do so. They're still humans, right? And even with you, I met this Negro, storytime music, I met this Negro at Chigali Airport. I'm gonna tell the truth because he got me on this Captain Morgan, so I'm gonna tell all the truth. You know, Negroes, we like to tell it all like how it is. So this bald-headed Negro, I'm at Entebbe going to Chigali. This Negro, this tall Negro, came to me and started telling me things about myself from way back in the day on the video. So I'm like, man, who is this nigga? So, we're on the airlines, we're on the air. This is just only 4 months ago. So I talked to Rachel. We going there, head to the wine cellar. I said, man, this nigga is telling me things about my videos that happened in 2017. I said, either this nigga is crazy or he's a stalker or something, because this motherfucker just told me a bunch of shit about myself. I did not even, you had to watch him for a long time, right? So we get to Rwanda on the same flight, right?
Yeah.
I'm skeptical as hell about you. I'm still a little bit because, he trying to hate on me sometime on the podcast. But the basic good brother. So I'm thinking to myself, man, so you reach out to me when we bring the podcast in February.
It's the blue tick me, yo.
Yeah.
So he said, I want to come on the podcast. I said, it's the same nigga from the airport. I said, so the maintain called me, right?
Yeah.
He said, man, I work with the guy. The guy is good, man, the brother is good. I worked with him before. He works for X, Y, and Z company. I said, I don't trust this nigga, man. Niggas be lying. I don't know who. He's trying to bring me down, brother. And I went and talked to Suachola. I'm just call her name, right? Suachola. We did some things when we do the dating show over there. She said, yeah, me and the guy getting the arguments, but the guy is perfect. He's a great guy. Comes from a real good family and everything like that. So I said, man, let me call the brother, because in the first conversation we had was very harsh. Wasn't it? It was me pretty much telling you, I don't want to you at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't ask me shit, nigga. I don't know you.
Pretty much.
But I knew that the guy was smart. But the thing about it is as black people, when we have, and this is something that I want to talk about. This is real. Because you got me with this Captain Morgan, so I got to tell the truth. As black people, we don't feel like we can impact each other in a positive way. It's always some shit in the game. And, brother, I want to apologize to you on the podcast, because the same thing that some brothers do, and it wasn't like you were just like somebody local, whatever, right? You're somebody educated, growing in the States. So I can align with you more, but I still had that barrier. You know what I mean? And when you come on the podcast, but you added so much value to us here. But that's just something that as blacks, we got to kind of get out of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've noticed that we feel like, well, that brother might be from other past experiences. I got my own things going right now. So, I don't really want to, dealing with this guy. I mean, he's on the flight, so I don't know this nigga. You know what I mean? But at the same complex, but yours was a different level, because I wasn't dealing with somebody I met on the street. I'm just somebody living on the flight. But as black people, we tend to have that tendency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I want people to know that this happened just 4 months ago. That don't mean I'm perfect, because even me coming on the channel saying what I say, I was reluctant, because you came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when the brothers came on the podcast, everybody said, "Where the bald head guy coming back?" You know what I mean? And I want people to learn from even my own mistake. You know, the brother came, he built it up. His vocabulary is better than mine slightly. But he's doing his thing, man. And I just want to say that this whole Black American thing, I'm an example of it happening with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guilty. I gotta call it out. You know, players sometimes get it wrong. You know what I mean? We're gonna see how the brother do, but he proved me wrong right now. You know, so yeah.
No, I appreciate you saying that, man. And truth be told, when you and I were having those conversations,
yeah,
I could detect very clearly this guy probably believes that I'm just in it for getting something out of him the way that everybody else has tried to in the past. Right. And that's okay.
Right.
I didn't take it personally. I didn't take it as a slight because you didn't know me enough to feel like you had developed a personal grudge against me. So I didn't take it that way.
Right.
Right. It was just a kind of a knee-jerk reaction to stuff that you had been encountering.
Yes.
For a substantial amount of time.
Right.
In the recent past.
Right.
So that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. And I'm glad that we've course corrected and we've begun to develop a great rapport and an understanding of how we can create value for each other.
Right.
I think that's a critical piece that not everybody is tuned into. And again, let's to bring it back to Americans separating themselves, or let's call it blacks, from the diaspora, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Blacks from the diaspora separating themselves from the local cultures that they're trying to live in, thrive in, but don't necessarily want to be a part of. Right. I think people have a mistaken impression that I don't need to lead with the intention of creating value for others, right? When you pick up your life and you move to an African nation and you insert yourself into the ecosystem of what's happening around, right? You're consuming resources.
Yeah.
You're taking away from what somebody else may have wanted to do, right? I always believe that there's a finite amount of money to go around. There's a finite amount of resources. So if I, as an American, come here to Uganda and I decide that I want to set up business and I want to live a lifestyle that allows me to thrive and survive and live my best life, there's somebody out here who's missing out on what it is that I'm experiencing. And I have a responsibility to not only set myself up to quote unquote live my best life, but I also have a responsibility to return favor into the community that is benefiting me. And I think a lot of people overlook that responsibility. So when I was reaching out to O'Shea, I made it very clear to him that, listen here, brother, I'm not one of these guys out of here who's just trying to get something from you for the sake of benefiting myself. I'd rather we get to know each other organically and see how I can add value to you in my own unique way. And I think having sat here in front of these cameras, talking into this mic, interacting with you and with Maintain, and on the few episodes that I've appeared on, and Tina,
controversial
on the few episodes that I've appeared on so far, I've demonstrated that I do add value.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, you can swing the bat, brother.
So
you be swinging the bat like Mark McGuire in the 80s.
Yeah. So I think everybody has a responsibility, although they overlook that responsibility. I think every human, really, who's benefiting from something, and doesn't even have to necessarily be a monetary value. I could just be benefiting from the peace and the relaxation of this environment and this community because it's crime-free. Nobody stresses me out. Nobody disturbs me. My neighbors give me my space. I don't have shit to worry about, right? Now I have a responsibility to reciprocate the goodness that I'm getting out of this environment. I have to put something back into it.
Right.
So if you're just simply pulling without giving, that's where people go wrong.
Right.
And I think that's a thing that people need to kind of re-examine in their lifestyle.
Yeah.
I might be coming from the US, right? So let's say, for example, let's create a hypothetical situation where a guy named Jamal, right?
Who was on our podcast before.
Right?
No offense to you, brother. Brooklyn, stand up.
Right? From BK, right?
Yeah.
So Jamal from BK decides to go on Ancestry.com, right? He submits his DNA sample or 23andMe sorry, not trying to give shout outs to these companies, right? But he goes on one of these DNA tracing platforms and he says, you know what? I'm tired of living in America. Let me find out my roots and let me go and re-examine what it is that my lifestyle needs to be by trying to go back to Africa. So he goes to the website, he submits his blood sample, he realizes that I'm 67% Ghanaian. I buy a plane ticket and I go back to Ghana, right?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I feel like I belong. I feel like by virtue of the fact that I have this DNA report that says that I am 67% Ghanaian, I should be able to go there and all of a sudden dive in like I'm a swimmer diving in off the deep end and just immerse myself in all of these things that make me want to feel like I am genuinely a part of the community, right? And the people there will more than likely receive him. The people there will more than likely set themselves up to facilitate him achieving his business and his personal goals. But now he's like, okay, I thought it was going to be a lot easier than this. I thought it was going to be a lot smarter than this. I thought it was going to be a lot smoother than this. I had a different expectation, right? I thought it was Wakanda, right? I thought coming back to West Africa now that they're welcoming Americans, you know, by the dozens, by the planeful. I thought this was going to be like the new thing, and it was going to be so easy for me. But I don't like this, and therefore I don't like them. And therefore I'm questioning my decision. You know what I mean? And because I'm questioning my decision, it takes the generosity out of the decisions that I'm making. Now every decision that I'm making is self-serving. Every decision that I'm making is geared toward my personal interests, right? Wow. And because we come from a capitalistic society, yes, right? I watched an episode of a very popular TV show the other day, and the title of the episode was Human Capital, right? And there was a definition given of human capital. Human capital is the monetary value of what an individual can add to your business interests, right? So if I know that I have a team of X number of individuals and they can create an uplift of monetary value for my business, I can consider them human capital, right? So I think we made a point, one of you two made a comment earlier about how they create dead-end jobs, right? I think I will share that was you. You made a comment about how people come here and they create dead-end jobs because they're not interested in the extra layer and the nuance of, okay, I've set up a business. Yes, I've created jobs, but now the job that I create needs to be a meaningful job that actually helps somebody uplift themselves. Yes. As opposed to benefits me one-sidedly. Right. Now, in a capitalistic society, people from the US or, you know, Europe largely are also trained to know that, yo, my employer only wants to get the maximum value out of me that they can by paying me the least that they can. So I'm just going to emulate that and do that. Now, before, I was the one receiving the short end of the stick, but now I'm empowered to give the short end of the stick. Yes. So I think it's a messed up dynamic. Right. The a lot of people get caught up in. But I mean, we can all do better, but it's just about self-accountability at the end of the day.
Yeah. One thing we cannot engage in is Pan-African slavery. Right. And I see that happening with a lot of brothers and sisters in the continent. They come in masked with the idea, hidden behind Pan-Africanism and your Pan-African oppressor yourself. Yeah. And I can understand if the business is not growing, but once the business is growing, yeah, and you know you get on camera or whatever, you're talking about you're a Pan-African, and this person cannot even. It costs them more to come to work for you than what they're earning. Imagine. So there is a level, at least in even this Kingana organization, of social entrepreneurship.
That's right.
Right? Because I understand in order for the individuals to catch up, you cannot give them what they would. If you just ask a normal person, what do you want to make? Man, they're scared in an interview. I told Jonita one time it was a girl I won't tell her who she is. I said, Joan. She gave us a number. I said, Joan, ask her how much it costs to be her. And then ask her what it costs to be her. She's afraid to tell me what she wanted. But this is what happens here. people want to I'll work for 400,000 shillings a month, which is about $110 a month. But it costs 1 million shillings a month to be them.
Right.
So what does it cost to be you? Okay? So we can start what it costs to be you if I can pay you that. And then you prove to me from there. And what I've noticed is you get a better result. Like if we gave Juanita $100 a month, the podcast wouldn't have came back. Because she would have thought like, by the way, Juanita been in Dubai like at least 2 to 3 times.
Oh my God.
And I didn't pay for her to go.
Wow. Put that out there. But I didn't use company, man.
Yeah. She used her own money. So she's enough to stay there and then stay an additional week, pay for the flight change. So, but what I'm saying, what you're saying is right. And lastly, what I would say is that, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
This podcast is teaching me about myself, some of the things that I might be even hypocritical in what I initially feel. And people will help you. It's easy to get in that rut where, oh, man, I want to deal with people I don't know. It's not even like, other Ugandans. It's like, I don't really know them. And I know that I have my pathway forward. So they're giving me an idea to knock me off my path because they have their own personal interest. So let me just get rid of that person altogether. Because I've been through that so many times here.
Yeah.
Where you have something and somebody wants to completely knock you off your path to benefit them. And that does happen. But not everybody that has an idea is interested in that. I'm not trying to say you should field everything, but you'd be surprised how many black people can swing the bat. And there's a lot of black people, like a lot of Africa's problems and the black problems, we can solve most of our problems overnight with what we have. And if this company is an example of that, it's one of the best podcasts on planet Earth.
100%.
And we did it right here with Ugandans and some people just coming together. I'm going to take another sneak diss at Ghana. Y'all ain't got this. Y'all got a lot of stuff, but y'all ain't got this podcast. But our people can do the work. You know what I mean? And I want to give a shout out again to Jonita because she saved the podcast. Because I was like, look, don't ask me for shit.
Yeah.
I got my stuff doing. And she's like, let's try this. Let's try this. And if I would have been like, I should know what you're talking about, but I knew she was talking about, I taught her how to read the analytics. So once she, taught her how to read the analytics, we found out she can swing it back. Africans are humans. They're Homo sapiens. It's not Homo habilis or Homo erectus. They're not stuck in a different generation of humans. They can do everything that we can do in America. So they may not speak the perfect English a lot of times, some of them, but that doesn't mean they're not intelligent. Some of the most intelligent people that work downtown, you call them Chikubo?
Chikubo guys, yeah.
Can't speak a lick of English.
Right.
They got way more money than most of y'all.
Yeah. Filthy rich.
Big time.
Yeah. Because you listen to them talking and they had them sandals on and stuff like that. You'd be like, oh, man, this is a local guy. Man, who's this guy? I mean, that guy has way more money than you.
Facts.
Period.
Yeah.
I have seen it. You just go to any Forex. I'm going to close this out. Go to the Forex. When you think you're somebody American, you went to night school, go to the Forex. Guy comes in comes in on a boater, on a bike, with a backpack. And you just see what he's counting and what you got. It'll humble you real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Any last remarks?
I think for me, the moral of the story is people need to check themselves and realize that everybody's position and perspective is different. We have an automatic obligation to create value wherever we go.
Yeah.
So if you're going to another country, if you're going to live in another society, if you're going to put yourself in a position to join and enter another community, put your mind in the frame of, let me go and really participate, really become a part of it. And do something meaningful as opposed to just thinking about how can I benefit from what they have to offer me.
Yeah. That's well said. We'll actually just end the episode there. So like I was saying, add value to whichever African country that you end up going to. Right. Do not just go there. For the women, I'm pointing at you, you know yourself. Go there and add value if you can. All right, guys, we've come to the end of this episode. Make sure you follow us on all our social media pages at Kengana Nation. But I'll let Agaba tell you people where you can find him.
Yeah, you can follow me online at Master Gabs. And my podcast that I've recently launched is the Allergic to Average podcast. That's at A2A _ podcast on all of the social platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Check me out, man. I think you'll enjoy the content for real.
Yes, check him out. I did, well, almost finishing one episode. I was watching it when I was cleaning.
The other one is already
but it's
number
amazing.
2. Is it already up?
No, episode 2 is gonna come out on Thursday later this week. So
but episode 1 is out, right?
We're gonna promote it, man. The brothers is over the building, man.
It's amazing, guys.
Just Get Started was number 1, right? In the episode.
That's right. Just Get Started.
Yeah, and we want to help our brother. Our brother is a think tank. Now I'm just gonna be real though.
Yeah.
You be building, I mean, over here, you be building up a little bit more than over there. I'm just saying, I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. But no, he be building up over there on a different thing, but he be over here breaking shit down over here. I'm just saying, like, he better over here. I'm not a hater though. I just got to say that because this is the REPAT pot. But the brother's got talent though. Shout out to the other brother on there. You guys doing an amazing job, man. I'm just hating on them.
Yes, right. Shout out to Play One. Man.
Yeah, and for Shea social media, don't reach out to him.
Don't hit me up.
But reach out to us at kimkenganda@gmail.com if you have any links that you'd like to share with us. Subscribe to the Pan-African Dating Show. We'll see you guys next time.